In this video, I'm going to talk about my personal theories.
That's what we're here for, Hans. Your theories. And they most certainly are that in the layman's sense of utterly unprovable guesses, and not the scientific sense of basically an explanation of a fact about reality, so much as you would obviously love that to be the case. So, what weird, wacky and wild conclusion have you come to today? Probably something incredibly fucking silly, that would be my guess.
About the most recent historical reset, but...
The reset, but? You mean the idea that a giant arse that comes from outer space crashes into the planet and kills everyone in an extremely devastating and smelly catastrophe? I'm pretty sure that's a myth. I wouldn't worry about it, guys. I mean, who could have such a spectacular and hefty backside to achieve such a thing? Not me, that's for sure.
I kind of believe that there's... well, this is biblical, that there's nothing new under the sun.
Well, first off, you believe in some wildly stupid shit, from the flat earth and the firmament to basically all but maybe 7 types of animals existing in the world. Like I always say, it would be easier to ask what animals Hans thinks are actually real. And second, quoting the Bible in the idea that there's literally nothing new under the sun, a book written by people who had no fucking idea how the sun worked. Well, I'm unsurprised that they would have assumed that society was as advanced as it could possibly be, and it would certainly have remained so if they had stayed in charge for all this time. Fuck me. But no, in a literal sense, new shit is being invented all the time, and only morons think that we're even close to being done with technological development. So yeah, of course you think that.
And I think that that goes with everything. That we're at a point, historically...
I wish I was making a joke with that cut, but that is actually the end of that thought, so I guess I'll have to respond to that too. Yes, we are at a point historically, and that's literally always going to be the case. Even if we, as in you and I, aren't here anymore, someone or something is always going to be at some point that is considered history, at least until the end of time. That's how time works, for fuck's sake.
And I think that even King Solomon, back when... I think Solomon literally saw it all, did it all.
He could conceivably have done quote-unquote everything, as long as you assume everything is within a few thousand miles of him. But even then, probably not. And absolutely, he would not and could not do absolutely everything on the planet at the time. And especially not today, there's just way too fucking much of it. Although try explaining scale to a fluff. And you know, if he had flying machines in the Bible, maybe they would have, I don't know, fucking mentioned that. And I wish I didn't have to explain that the Bible's technology stopped at like horse-drawn chariots and various inventive ways to bash people's heads in.
And to an extent that today we think that we have all these opportunities and know so much stuff because of technology.
We literally fucking do, especially compared to people from freaking Bible times. Again, didn't know how the goddamn sun worked, making nothing new under the sun so goddamn ironic on its own. Do you not think if Solomon had the internet, it might have come up at some point? And yeah, people, at least the ones who have half a brain and the desire to actually fucking use it, tend to know more about how the world works and the stuff that is in it than at any time in history. Because even if they don't know something yet, they could find out about it in about 3 seconds flat. Not to mention that education is way more widespread, so even children nowadays know more about basic and accurate science than many of the people who were trying to figure it out did. Because guess what? They were figuring it out, they figured it out, and now it's taught en masse.
But just go look at something like the Sigils of Solomon and...
Okay, not sure what they are, and from the looks of it, there's not exactly infinite knowledge in there, because, well, why would there be? And what exactly am I supposed to be seeing? Because funnily enough, I don't think this lot gets used all that much in your average science textbook, but that's mostly because I'm pretty sure it's mystical mumbo-jumbo. But I could be wrong if it were opposite day.
there's different level. Like, what even were those people doing at that time?
Don't you think that the Bible is a historical text? Like, even if you don't take it all literally, which you of course shouldn't, the general day-to-day stuff in that book obviously reflects the general vibe and the stuff that they were usually capable of, so long as it wasn't literally the magic stuff, because magic doesn't real, obvs. So that dude, they were doing that, not building goddamn rockets or ultra-fast broadband data centers.
I think it's hard to even say without being there to experience it.
No, Hans, it actually isn't. There's actually a bunch of ways we can know with relative accuracy what happened in the olden days. It's called history. They study documents and compare them to each other. They do archaeology to find shit. They search for fucking evidence of things that happen and figure out where things line up with each other. The only reason you would think that you can't know this is if you know nothing about how we figure shit out. Which of course you don't, because you aren't interested in knowing actual facts about the world as it is or was. You know, because you're a dumbass.
And even the greatest cities that we have today, they're the crumbs of a society that lived before us.
No, they fucking aren't. That is absolutely the opposite of reality. The cities of today are massively expanded versus what came before. These tiny little settlements with fuck all people in them, those were what came before. The cities that stand in their place are goddamn unrecognizable. Their scale is so absolutely massive in comparison to what was there before it. It's just laughable that you think yourself a seeker of truth when literally everything you believe is demonstrably false. Shit, there's some cities that have massively grown within living memory. There are people around today who have seen the growth of various places expand enormously within the last 100 years or so. We have records of what they were like. We have everything. And you have really weird fucking opinions. Goddamn.
And I just think of those things to kind of...
Do not pretend that you think about anything. What you do is you just allow whatever thing that goes against, you know, the things that are actually true into your head, and that's what you believe now. No thought, no figuring out if what you say is even remotely accurate. It's just, what do they say? No, the opposite is true, actually. Why? Because they say I'm wrong. That's how facts work.
Humble myself.
Wait. What was that?
Think of those things to humble myself.
No, you don't, Hans. That's not what you are doing. You don't reject the entirety of the endless work that people far smarter than you have done over countless years, multiple lifetimes of effort and study to try and learn everything they can about reality. No, you ignore all that shit because you're so fucking egotistical that you can't possibly accept that you can't understand them. So they must all be wrong because of how fucking smart you are. There is no other reason to behave like this other than being thick as pig shit. Or both. It's definitely both.
And to remember that technology is something from the fallen angels.
No. What? No. What are you talking about, you mad bastard? Technology is from fallen angels? We know how technology was made, at least most of it. And the only things we aren't like 100% sure of when they first came to be is like the goddamn wheel. And even then we know quite a lot about its early uses. So even the most basic shit, if it came from Skyboys, most of the shit we use today sure as hell wasn't. That phone you're so keen on using instead of a fucking computer for some reason certainly isn't some angelic fucking super tech. It's just, well, a little computer. Just not a sensible one for making content with. Humans invented computers. In fact, humans were computers until we figured out how to make it so that they didn't have to be anymore. It's where the word comes from, and we know how it developed as the electromechanical device of today. You know, you would be so exhausting to talk to at a party. Not that you'd be invited, but to be fair, neither would I, but that's mostly because of the murdering, which is almost as bad as talking to you, so I get it.
That is released upon the masses, and it
They release technology on the masses, do they? Well, you're half right. Consumer technology does come a lot of the time, a long time after we already know about it. But again, we know when it was actually made because, we keep records of these things. And it's usually not used right away because it tends to be prohibitively expensive. That is to say, when a new tech is figured out, it usually costs way too much to implement at scale. And not because they want to hide it from us because angels or some shit. Get a grip, hands. No, not on that. I meant reality, hands. Ew.
Has no bearing on myself. The technology that's available has nothing to do with how smart I am.
You got that fucking right, hands. As I've said before, it's wild to exist in an age where we can acquire endless facts, and yet people like you seem as common, if not more so, than ever before. And you use the exact same internet to make yourselves actually more staggeringly wrong. I mean, at least old-timey idiots had an excuse for their ignorance, but your willful ignorance is so inexcusable in this day and age, I swear it could tear holes in goddamn time and space.
Or my ability to think logically.
Yeah, no, those things are in fact nothing to do with technology. The fact that you are a complete and total dipshit has nothing to do with tech and everything to do with, I can only assume, the multiple cliffs your parents accidentally dropped you off of directly onto your head as a child. Unfortunately for them, it didn't achieve what they had hoped, but that was mostly due to your incredibly thick skull, which is the other reason that you're such a dumbass.
And people think that they're so much smarter today just because they have access to stuff.
They aren't necessarily smarter per se, but they absolutely do have way more knowledge about the functions of reality, if they actually bother to learn anything about it. That's just a fact, and shit. If you consider the internet as a kind of storage of the facts that you don't know yet, then yeah, an individual today knows basically everything that humanity has worked out more or less. Shit, the amount of skills that I have picked up because of YouTube that I would never have figured out otherwise is actually crazy. You no longer have to pay people to fix your shit if you have the time and a bit of patience to follow a step-by-step YouTube tutorial. It's actually wild.
I mean, it's kind of funny. On my last video, I got a comment talking about Karl Marx.
Yeah, hilarious that anyone leaves anything but confused emojis on your content. Although, I have to say, that's not an invitation from me to go bother him. Unless you actually have something substantive to say to him, leave him alone for fuck's sake. Same with literally everyone I cover, actually. And you might think that, oh, that's hypocrisy sick, if you're about as smart as Hans. But these videos are me leaving him alone. I am talking shit behind his back, more or less, and if he wants to ignore everything I say, which he absolutely does, he doesn't have to see any of this shit. But if I went to his channel to call him a moron, that would be entirely different. Be like me. Make fun, but don't harass. If you do harass, then you are literally worse than me and the people I talk about combined. And that's just omni-awful.
And, oh, you're really a socialist and stuff. But, I mean, it really is. I see where those people are coming from, of how much of this earth is all about acquisition of
whiskey. He got us. That is the only true resource of value in this world. That's why I guard my hoard so jealously, lest the humans acquire it and gain the power of the extremely drunk god, which is different from a normal god in that, at least when I do fucked up shit, I can just blame it on the booze. What the fuck is this guy's excuse for his constant global genocides?
Of the means of production. Like, what is that all about? That's talking about after a historical reset, there's so much infrastructure out there.
No, Hans. No, it's not. What the fuck? You just shove communism into your idiot theory, but as basically a complete nonsense version of what it says? The things that make stuff and the shit that allow you to do that weren't just fucking sitting there and then some guy comes along and shouted, "Mine!" It's built by people, relatively recently for the most part. Again, a lot of it within people's lifetimes. Do you just hear words and phrases and instead of learning what they actually are supposed to mean, just decide to figure out how to shove it into your insanity? God damn.
And we could live in a society where everybody lives happily.
Not really. Sad as it is to say, I don't think there is a real utopia that's at least not involving a shitload of lobotomies where everyone would or could be happy. I mean, as happy as possible, maybe, but even if everything possible was done to make sure individuals have everything they need and they don't have to struggle to survive ever, people would still have things in their lives that suck. That's just the nature of existence. That's why the whole first world problem thing gets said as if it's something other than the speaker dismissing someone's personal problems because you can't have problems if other people have it worse. No, fuck off. Problems are problems. They don't stop being problems because other people might have worse ones than you colossal dickhead. Sorry, tangent, but it's still so annoying.
And we have free access to food. All of this stuff should be working for us to make our lives better, but instead...
It isn't, yeah, but it's not as simple as you are making it sound. And yet, you are also making it so insanely convoluted as a mess of sky magic and nonsense. Your understanding of these topics are both incredibly childish and just out and out madness. I'm almost fucking impressed.
The means of production, all of the land is grabbed up by a very small percentage of people, and then they create this magic money Illuminati system to enslave everybody else.
That's got to be one of the funniest things I have ever heard you say. You just took Marxism, well, pretty much just a few of the phrases that come from it, and turned it into some literal Illuminati bullshit. And on top of that, this pseudo-history shit, where every some amount of years, he doesn't actually specify, but I don't think it can be more than 100 or so based on what he's saying. And it's now that previous civilizations are there and suddenly disappear for no reason with no evidence, and no evidence that some faction took over all this shit without others trying to stop them, because what power hungry asshole doesn't want all the stuff? When no, they don't need to do that. It's just rich people, that we know how they got rich, getting richer by buying all the stuff. It's not that complicated, and yet you found a way to make it so, whilst also making it incomprehensible gibberish. Congratulations. You made real economics seem downright piss easy by comparison. Good job.
And yeah, I mean, I really see where they're getting at, but I just see it through the lens of, once there's a historical reset, there's this mad grab between the big powers. You got the mafia families, you got the Vanderbilt money families, and then you got the government men in tights type, and then the academics, and they go grab all these buildings that they can and start much ado about nothing.
No, I can't do this anymore. All I can see is a bunch of nerds running in and fortifying a library like it's goddamn Mad Max, and it's just too silly to even give the complete mockery I already do. Again, as always, Hans, never change, you mad bastard.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the